But we as Americans should all want, needy families who receive these SNAP benefits to receive them.
Yeah. The time to care about the 42 million people who are on SNAP and the wisdom of that program is not in the middle of a government shutdown.
There is a crisis brewing in America, and for some reason, not many people are talking about it. It has been a hell of a week for families across the nation, as many Americans got told that they no longer have a job. Just look at this list. It's astonishing. UPS, Amazon, Intel, Nestle, Accenture, Ford, Novo Nordisk, Microsoft, PwC, Salesforce, Paramount, Target, Kroger, Applied Materials, General Motors, and Meta. They all told account for 175,000 jobs. Now, keep in mind, the government right now is still shut down. It's been more than 30 days. And a lot of uncertainty is still there around food stamps and food assistance. And speaking of, despite what the president claims, the cost of living in this country is not going down. Inflation is up, grocery prices are up, electricity prices are up too, healthcare costs are going to be going up, and apparently so is the likelihood that you or your neighbor's job is at risk. This shutdown could not come at a more perilous time for a lot of Americans. And I don't know, I mean, it's been the weirdest shutdown in history because everybody seems to be cool with the fact that it's been a month, nobody's getting paid, people are getting laid off, and it's not just to be clear, it's not just emanating out of Washington why these layoffs are happening. Some of this is technology. Some of this is just the economy churning, but it's hurting regular Americans, and nobody in Washington is doing anything.
It's interesting because when you all broke down our topics and what we were going to talk about today, I think this is one of these examples that all of us can relate to. And if you don't mind, I think that it's more about an issue of stability. I don't know what sector you work in, if you're watching this program and if you're paying attention closely. I think all sectors feel instability. I don't feel like this is about an issue of whether or not we all will be saying the shutdown is affecting us. All of us feel this. A good friend of mine, her mother works at UPS. She just lost her job on Monday. She found out. I look across the world in which we work in. I see that our colleagues, our peers are losing their jobs at, Paramount, CBS. I see if you look at Intel, you're losing your jobs. Pharmaceuticals companies are firing people. And they're saying that it's restructuring. They're saying it's about the economy. They're saying it's about AI. And I feel that this instability is really starting to take place. And it's affecting everyone. This isn't what side are you on. It is truly an issue that is affecting every single person that I know. This reaches us across all boards, and it's unfortunate because we find ourselves having these conversations right now. Everything in this country right now feels very unstable.
And in the middle of all of that, I mean, the food stamp issue is within the control of people in Washington. And it's 40 million Americans who could lose access to food. They're already sort of on that line, right between being able to make it and not. Why not just take that off the table in this other fight over the government shutdown? Well,
a judge yesterday took it off the table, at least for the time being, and so we're not going to see it. I think the Trump administration was trying to make this I mean, we've never suspended SNAP benefits during a government shutdown of all the shutdowns that we've had over the last 30 years. So I don't think it was going to happen here. The Trump administration wanted to do that to put pressure on Democrats to go back in and try to settle this because Democrats would be very responsive to that moment. But I think what you were talking about speaks specifically to an underrated part of the instability that we're facing right now, which is that Donald Trump raised the average tariff in this country by 500% this year. We've never seen anything like this in the history of America. That's going to, of course, when you're putting import taxes like that, it's going to affect the prices of goods, and it's also going to affect investment by companies and whether they're going to make long-term plans or not, and that breeds a lot of the instability.
The belt tightening is happening for sure.
Well, I gotta say on the point of the federal judge, I mean, if a federal judge can rule that the Trump administration reinstates food stamps, why can't she also rule that the Democrats need to reopen the government? Because I'm not just concerned about the 40+ million Americans who are not going to have food stamps. I am also concerned about the 12,000 FAA employees who are not getting paid, about the 2.2 million military members not getting paid, about the 2.5 billion in SBA loans that are not getting distributed. And the bottom line is the Republicans have voted 13 times to pass a clean CR, and the Democrats will not do it. And it's because Chuck Schumer thinks
but that's a
every
disingenuous
day
argument. That's
is
a
getting better
it's not
for
that
him.
it's not just solely just the Democrats. In fact, there is reserve. You know that there's reserve that can be used to make sure that these SNAP benefits
there's reserve for every single
and they
thing that we
remove it,
need to do.
But the reality
Democrats
is
want
that
to
this is an issue. So you're saying, do I have to make a choice between SNAP benefits or health care? Like, why do we have to make that choice in this big, beautiful America that we live in? It's not fair just to say it's a Democratic issue.
So
It's
let's have that
everyone's
debate
issue.
after we
But it's not-
open up the government.
But it's not just a Democratic issue. That's a disingenuous argument. We should not be on any side in this issue. This is about people who won't be able to eat. 42 million Americans that can't eat.
So let's
Children who will not be able to. But it's not about the
government.
Democrats. That's not a fair choice.
It is a fair choice. We would have that funding and funding for everything else if the Democrats were willing to vote. As Fetterman has even said, he's called out his own party. Democrats are losing the biggest union who are tired of their dynamic.
So let me play what Glenn Beck said about this SNAP issue, and this was kind of echoed by President Trump as well. Listen.
Wait a minute. How much are we paying in SNAP? How many people? 40 million people on SNAP? What? When did that happen? To now people going, I don't know if 40 million people should be on SNAP in the first place. We're finally having a real positive, constructive conversation. 40 million people? Guys, we haven't even hit a depression. I mean, this is not like the Dust Bowl. It's not the 1930s.
You know, this kind of reminds me of when they were debating about whether they should lay people off. Actually, I shouldn't say debating. They were planning to lay people off, and Trump was talking about it as if this was like an extra perk of the government shutdown. There's a messaging disconnect between saying the shutdown is hurting people while also saying this is our opportunity to cut people off of government assistance. This is our opportunity to fire federal workers. And that's been happening throughout this government shutdown, which is difficult, it seems, for Republicans.
Yeah, as we get closer and closer towards 2026, it is very clear that this is more and more Donald Trump shutdown. And the reason why is because November 1st is a critical date. SNAP benefits 40 million Americans. Many of them are in red states. Many of them are in swing states that voted for Donald Trump in 2024 and multiple times. And many of them working class, rural Americans. And so, look, the reality here is that it has created a situation where all of us as Americans want to make sure that working class Americans who need these SNAP benefits, they receive them. It's also created, quite frankly, not that this is a political issue, because I agree with my colleague over here, this should be a bipartisan issue to see Americans get SNAP benefits. But if you talk about a political moment, there have been many governors who actually have their states stepped up. Right here in Governor Kathy Hochul, right here in New York, has already pledged over $100 million in New York State government to feed families, for example. But we as Americans should all want needy families who receive these SNAP benefits to receive them.
Yeah.
The time to care about the 42 million people who are on SNAP and the wisdom of that program is not in the middle of a government shutdown, contra Glenn Beck. And we see this every time the governments get shut down, regardless of which party is the initiative mover here. And it's the Democrats are the initiative mover of this shutdown. They are simultaneously owning it and sort of deflecting the blame. And at some point, those of us who are neither Democrat or Republican kind of don't care, because this is like the 35th time we've done this in the last 30 years. And none of those shutdowns, including this one when it ends, sooner rather than later probably, has affected the trajectory of the underlying political debates at issue. None of them.
Yeah, totally. I mean, a shutdown is at best a short-term strategy, and everybody loses in a shutdown. But I think this idea that shutdowns don't end with some form of negotiation is also not accurate. That typically, actually, they do talk about something, and the lack of talking is part of what makes this shutdown so remarkable. Why don't they just, they don't have to actually resolve the healthcare issue, but they could come up with an agreement to resolve it at a future date in good faith. That seems like a reasonable thing that they could do.
They could. I mean, it's interesting, actually. Hakeem Jeffries revealed that Mike Johnson had called him. I think in most cases, Mike Johnson has been intentional. I think the Republicans are being intentional about trying to reach out to folks. And the question is, the minority whip said that she feels this shutdown gives them leverage. So I actually don't know that Democrats are incentivized to shut it down. I think Schumer's worried right now about a potential primary from AOC, from the left flank of his party, and he wants to show everyone else that he's doing something to try and stand up to Donald Trump. That's what ultimately this is about. And so they lose their leverage, And he potentially signals that maybe he's weak if he's willing to reach some kind of deal with the Republicans.
All right.
I would respectfully just disagree with that. When you go into a shutdown, House Democrats and Senate Democrats have to be united. We did not see this on the Democratic Party, my party, in March. And quite frankly, many Democrats were upset at Leader Schumer at that point in time. So picking a major issue, which is the Obamacare subsidies, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office has said over 10 million Americans lose their health care coverage because of the one big ugly bill. Picking one issue, the health care, for example, is a very smart tactical strategy. And yes, of course, there should be negotiation. We all want this shutdown to be over, but Republicans, led by Donald Trump, have to come to the table.
So let me get straight. We live in the richest country in human history, a country where billionaires launch themselves into space for fun, where corporations post record profit quarter after quarter. And right now, as I'm speaking to you, 40 million Americans are wondering if they'll be able to eat the next month. Not because of a natural disaster, not because of a pandemic, but because politicians, elected officials who we pay, by the way, have decided that hunger makes a fantastic bargaining chip. Welcome to America in 2025, where let them eat cake is not just a historical quote, it is apparently a legislative strategy. I might be furious, you should be too, and I want us to talk about it. So here's what's happening right now, and I need you to understand the audacity of this moment. The government is shutting down again, because what we do now, we just shut down the government like it's a restaurant that forgot to pay the electricity bill. But this time there is a special twist in our democracy's slow motion car crash. SNAP benefits, food stamps are on the chopping board. Right? Let me paint you a picture. 40 to 40 million Americans depend on SNAP. That's more than the entire population of Canada. These ain't abstract statistics. These are your neighbors, the single mom working 2 jobs, the veteran who came home broken, the elderly couple choosing between medication and food, the kid in your nephew's class who only eats properly when school is in session. And here's the thing that should make your blood boil. In 30 years of government shutdowns, SNAP benefits have never been suspended. Not under Clinton, not under Obama, not under Bush, never. Until now, the Trump administration looked at this decades-long precedent and said, you know what, let's try something new. Let's use starvation as a negotiating tactic. Because nothing says, make America great again, quite like watching children go hungry to own their lives. Right? The Republican argument, and I want you to hear this, is essentially we need to debate whether these people deserve to eat, not during budget season, not during policy discussions, right now, in the middle of a crisis when 40 million people are already on the edge. Glenn Beck literally went on air asking how many people, 40 million people on SNAP. When did that happen? Glenn, buddy. It happened because wealth inequality is at its worst level in over a century. It happened because we've built an economic system where someone can work 40 hours a week and still need government assistance to feed their kids. It happened because we've chosen a society to let billionaires pay lower tax rates than teachers while cutting the safety to get ribbons. But wait, it gets worse, because shutdown is not happening in a vacuum. It's happening during what I can only describe as an economic apocalypse for working Americans. Let me read your list, and I want you to think about whether you are someone who works for any of these companies: UPS, Amazon, Intel, Ford, Microsoft, Target, Kroger, Salesforce, Meta, General Motors, Paramount, CBC, CBS, WC, Accenture, Novadox. 112,000 jobs gone just in recent months. That's not a typo. That's an exaggeration. That's reality. It's not a typo. Oh, but my economy is good. They'll tell you. Look at the stock market. Yeah. Tell that to the mom who just lost her job at UPS on a Monday. Tell that to the tech worker who thought their skills will protect them. Tell that to the auto worker watching their plant close. The economy is churning, they say. It's restructuring. It's AI innovation. They'll tell you that. You know what I call it? Late stage capitalism eating itself. And here's the kicker. When all this is happening, inflation is up. Grocery prices are up. Electricity costs are up. Healthcare costs are going up. The tariffs that goods slapped on everything, they raised the average tariff by 500%. 500%. You think that's not hitting your wallet? But for sure, let's debate whether 40 million people really need food assistance. That seems like the pressing issue here. Oh, and by the way, 12,000 FAA employees are getting paid. 2.2 million military members ain't getting paid. The people we sent to die in wars for this country, yeah, Their paychecks are on hold. But thank God we are protected from the real threat. Poor people having enough to eat. Now let us talk about politics of this nightmare, because this is where it gets fascinating in the most horrifying way possible. Republicans are playing with fire and they don't even realize they are covered in gasoline. You want to know the beautiful irony? The majority of SNAP recipients live in red states. Oklahoma, 15% of the population depends on food stamps. These are the working class rural Americans who voted for the very politicians now threatening to take their food away. And when push came to shove, when the deadline hit and Oklahoma's governor could have used state funds to feed his constituents, people who voted for him, people who trusted him, what did he do? Nothing. He refused to break ranks with his party. He chose political loyalty over the hunger of his people. Let that sink in. A governor looked at his starving constituents and decided that party unity was more important than their children eating dinner. Democrats, meanwhile, are trying to prevent 10 million people from losing healthcare. The SEA benefits ain't passing through, and for a significant percentage of those 10 million, losing insurance is a death sentence. So we have this grotesque standoff. One sided weaponizing hunger, the other side desperately trying to keep people alive. And the media wants to have a balanced conversation about whether maybe, just maybe, we have too many people on food assistance. You know what I think? I think any country that has 40 million people needing food assistance while billionaires exist is not dealing with a welfare problem. It is dealing with a wealth distribution problem, right? Let me tell you what this is really about, because it is not about budgets. It is not about fiscal responsibility. It is not about political strategy. This is about values. We live in a society that has made a choice conscious, deliberate choice about who matters and who doesn't. We've decided that the right of billionaires to accumulate infinite wealth is more sacred than the right of a child to eat. We've decided that corporate profits matter more than human dignity. We've decided that the stock market is a better indicator of our nation's health than whether our citizens can afford medicine. Wealth inequality is at its worst in over 100 years. The gap between the ultra-rich and everyone else is a chasm. And rather than address that, rather than ask why we have 40 million people who need food assistance, we are debating whether those people deserve to eat. This is not policy debate. This is moral collapse. When a judge had to issue a temporary hold to SNAP cuts, that was not the justice system working. That was the justice system being the only standing thing between millions of Americans and starvation. So here's where we are. The shutdown is happening during a period of massive economic instability. Jobs are disappearing, costs are rising, and the safety net that's supposed to catch people when they fall, it's being cut to shreds in real time. The question is not why do so many people need SNAP? The question is, why have we built a system where so many people need SNAP? And the answer is simple, because we've chosen to. It's our choice. We've chosen to structure our economy so that working full-time doesn't guarantee you that you can feed your family. We've chosen to cut corporate taxes while slashing social programs. We've chosen to treat poverty as a moral failing rather than a policy outcome. But here's the thing about our choices. They can be unmade. Every single person watching this has more power than they think. You can call your representatives, you can vote, you can organize, you can refuse to accept this as normal. Because this is not normal. This is a crisis, and crises demand action. 40 million people are waiting to see if they'll be able to eat next month. 10 million people are wondering if they'll lose their healthcare. Hundreds of thousands have lost their jobs. And while all this happened, the people in power are arguing about who deserves to suffer. So yeah, I'm angry. You should be too. Because if we accept this, if we shrug and move on, we are saying that this is who we are. This is the America we're building. And I don't know about you, but that's not the country I want to live in. Thanks for watching. Now go do something about it. Like, comment, share. This is the News Hancho. I hope to see you in the next one.